The shutdown was altogether bad, but there was one silver lining, and that is that people got to realize how much we need our federal workers.
Yeah.
So all of this, and these folks, this shutdown is particularly bad because it came on the heels of the sequester where people were furloughed for several days, freezing in their pay for 4 years, and then also, chipping away at their pension. So, federal workers who do so much for so many have not gotten any respect from this House majority, and it's time that it comes to an end.
And on the Republican Party get out of the shutdown? Not much, huh?
No, they actually took some hits, but the real issue, here's the deal, though. They're betting and hoping and praying that America has amnesia, right? And we're not going to allow that to happen. One of the biggest challenges, Bill, is that when I talk to people about this, they sometimes say things like, well, you guys need to find a way to get along. I'm like, we're trying to get along. They won't get along. That's why the shutdown happened. They said that unless we delay the Affordable Care Act for a year, then they're going to shut down the government. We said no, and that's why we had the shutdown. And they had to abandon that ridiculous demand. And nobody has ever said the Affordable Care Act can't use some improvements. What can't, right? We improved the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The next year we had the Voting Rights Act. A few years later we had the equal housing. We've always done better as we learn more. But look, these people don't want to improve it. They want to destroy it. And they want to send us back to the days when people would go bankrupt just because they got sick, and we will not return to that.
One of the impacts of the shutdown is, as you saw, the Washington Post, ABC Washington Post poll yesterday showed that the approval rating now for Congress is 12%, the lowest it's been in 40 years.
Well,
which, unfortunately, right, it just goes across broad brush across everybody instead of the people who really deserve the blame.
You're so right, Bill, because Republicans took a beating in the polls, and they deserved it. But they dragged the whole institution down. And in a way that helps like the billionaire puppet masters like the Koch brothers, because they do not like the concept of representative democracy. And so if the whole institution goes down in the esteem of the people, that heightens their case. Oh, well, we should just run this place like a business. You could see the insipid fascism, right? What I mean is, how long will it be before one of these characters says, well, we can't have all this bickering in Congress. We need a strong man who really cares for the nation to make all the decisions, and this would be right. That's how it happens. That you create enough frustration with democratic institutions, and then somebody says, skip the whole thing, we're just going to let an individual run it. And we've got to be, there's no guarantee that won't happen. The only guarantee is that we're vigilant and that we stick to this democratic process.
Now, the big question is, we only got a temporary reprieve, right? Until January 15, the debt ceiling February 7, but in the meantime, you got another looming government shutdown January 15. Do you get any sense that that those 144 House Republicans?
You said it, 144. Most Republicans didn't vote for
reopening
the government.
Who voted with Ted Cruz instead of with John Boehner, or instead of with the American people. Any idea that they're going to see the light?
I don't know. Our best hope is that John Boehner, who is a real conservative, by the way. No, he's no liberal. He's not a member of the Progressive Caucus. I know that. John Boehner needs to look at the 87 people who he can work with.
Yeah.
And the Democrats and try to fashion something that can move the country forward.
That's the only way out.
That's the only way out. And I hope he doesn't take to the 11th hour to figure it out. Right?
Doesn't have to.
It's writing on the wall now, and so that's the thing. We could avoid a shutdown, but it's going to take a degree of cooperative spirit that has been rare so far.
Now we also have as part of this this group that was part of the deal was this. We finally have a budget committee, and we finally have a budget committee which is looking at some of the real issues and what the president hopes to come out with a balanced approach.
Right.
Of course, Republicans are talking about, well, we have to cut entitlements, and so they've got Social Security right up
in the crosshairs.
Front and center again, right?
Yeah, they do, but that is one dog that will not hunt, man. We're not going to tolerate a cut to Social Security. Social Security is perhaps the most successful program for income security the country has ever seen. It's not just for seniors. It's also for people who are on survivor benefits.
I mean, it has lifted so many people out of poverty.
Well,
right?
let me tell you. I mean, in my own state of Minnesota, 1 in 6 Minnesotans received Social Security benefits in 2012, which is about 5.2% of the state's total personal income. And Social Security has lifted over 300,000 Minnesotans out of poverty in 2011. And Social Security has reduced elderly poverty rate from 45.2% down to 6.9%. So nearly half
down to 6.9%. Yeah.
So
and that story, I'm sure, with
across the country,
a little difference, is true in every state.
In every state, I mentioned my own state because I know it that best, but I can tell you without a doubt that from state to state, from California to Maine to Florida to Washington State, everywhere Social Security has made a meaningful difference in the lives of people, including our seniors, also including young families who may have lost one of their earners on survivor benefits, and not to mention people with disabilities. Now, the change CPI would hurt more than just folks on Social Security. It would also hurt disabled veterans. So the change CPI is a benefit cut. It's a meaningful benefit cut. And here's the thing. So many folks who are living comfortably have no idea what poverty is. So they don't understand how precious $5 or $50 is in the budget of a low-income senior. But the reality is, if a senior has a bump in a copay or anything, that could throw their entire budget off. And people think, well, maybe the seniors should take a cut because what about the young people? They need some money too. Well, look, nobody is going to let mom and dad go without. So if you cut Social Security, you're going to cut into the family budget because I for sure am taking care of my mom. You know what I mean? And so it really, the seniors have, this is an earned benefit. They've earned it. Give them their due. And this change CPI is an inaccurate measure of inflation for seniors anyway. Do you have a second for me to explain why?
Well, I do. Okay. I do. But I just want to point it. But the problem is that President Obama once put it on the table, right?
Well, you know what? I don't believe he really believes in it. I think what he was trying to do was lift the sequester, so he threw it out there when he shouldn't have
at that time.
And I don't think progressives should think, oh, Obama sold us. He didn't. What he did is I think he made a negotiating mistake, which is he threw out something that he didn't think the Republicans would take to show how unreasonable they were. Well, I think that's dangerous, and I don't think he should have done it. But I am confident that Obama is in support of income security for seniors, and we're trying to just let him know early on that Social Security is not going to be a bargaining chip in this thing.
Yeah,
done deal. And but I do believe that there should be some adjustments to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. One, what if we lifted the cap?
Totally.
I mean,
totally.
You only pay Social Security up to about $113,000. Lift the cap. What if we added carried interest in Social Security taxation? So for example, right now, the only Social Security withholding is from people's paychecks.
Yes.
And from businesses that contribute. But if your income is like, Warren Buffett or Romney,
investments
from your investments and stuff, you're not hit with Social Security on that. So what if we included that? That would solve a lot of problems. We would never talk about And then here's the other thing, folks, please listen to this. Social Security does not contribute to the deficit. Social Security is a program that is solvent until 2033. There is no immediate crisis with regard to Social Security. Now let's talk about Medicare, if we may. Now Medicare, for example.
You know what? I'm going to ask you to hold there, so we can take a break and come back. But
sure.
that's just such an important point that you just made about the solvency of Social Security. People say, "Oh, it's going to bankrupt. It's bankrupt. It's going to bankrupt tomorrow." It's not true.
It's a bunch of Chicken Littles.